I buried my doctor last year. He was 71 years old, ran marathons, watched everything he ate, came to my appointments with a clipboard and a list of things I needed to do better. He was thorough and he was careful, and he was 11 years younger than I am. And I sent flowers to his wife in September. I am not telling you that to be morbid. I am telling you that because I want you to understand something before I say anything else. Nobody knows. Not the doctors, not the researchers, not the people selling you supplements at $40 a bottle. Nobody knows exactly why some people make it to 93 and some people don't. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. What I can tell you is what I do, what I have done for decades, quietly, without anyone asking, without a camera or a following or a reason, except that I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay for Carol. I wanted to stay for my grandchildren. And then after Donald died, I wanted to stay because I discovered, to my own surprise, that I still had reasons that were entirely my own. So here is what I do, not as advice, as testimony. The first thing I do every morning before I get up, before I do anything, is I lie still for a moment and I find one thing, just one, something I am going to do today that is worth getting up for. Not something large, not something meaningful in the way people mean when they talk about purpose and legacy. Something small and real. Today it was that I wanted to finish the chapter I fell asleep in the middle of last night. Yesterday it was that Carol was going to call at 2:00 and I wanted to be awake and clear-headed when she did. The day before that it was simply that there was good bread left from the bakery and I wanted it toasted with butter while it was still morning. I know how that sounds. I know someone watching this is thinking, that's it, that's your secret, a piece of toast. Yes, that is exactly it. Because I have watched people lose the will to get up long before they lose the ability. I have watched it happen to people younger and stronger than me. My friend Vera, she was 88, sharp as anyone I knew. No serious illness, she just stopped finding reasons, not dramatically, quietly. The reasons got smaller and then they disappeared, and then one morning she simply did not get up, and 3 months later she was gone. Her doctor called it natural causes. I called it something else. The reason does not need to be profound. It needs to be real. It needs to be yours. Find it before your feet touch the floor. The second thing is water. I drink a full glass before anything else enters my body, before coffee, before breakfast, before my morning pills lined up in their little weekly organizer that I still resent needing. I have done this since I was in my early 60s, and a nurse at my then doctor's office, a young woman named Patricia, no more than 30, practical and no nonsense, told me that by the time most older adults feel thirsty, they are already dehydrated. The sensation dulls with age. Your body stops sending the signal clearly, and so you wait for a signal that is not coming, and meanwhile everything inside you is running on less than it needs. I did not want to believe something that simple could matter that much, but I started, And within 2 weeks, I noticed my thinking was clearer in the mornings. Not dramatically, just cleaner. Less fog between waking up and being actually present in the day. I have missed that glass of water perhaps 4 times in 30 years. Twice when I was in the hospital. Once when Carol was visiting and we got to talking before I remembered. Once when I simply forgot and did not realize until noon, which told me immediately that something was off that day. That is not coincidence. That is what a body feels like when you have respected it long enough that it tells you when you haven't. The third thing is movement. But I want to be careful how I say this because I am not talking about exercise the way people mean it now. The tracking and the steps and the competitions with yourself, I have no interest in any of that. I am talking about refusing to be still for too long. There is a difference. Exercise is something you schedule. What I am describing is something you protect. I do not let more than 1 hour pass without standing up and moving through at least 2 rooms. I do not watch television for long stretches without getting up during the commercial breaks and walking to the kitchen and back. When Carol calls, I walk while I talk through the living room, into the hallway, back again. The same slow loop. My neighbor Henry is 81. Good health, good mind, good humor. But he sits. He sits in the morning and he sits in the afternoon and he sits in the evening, and the sitting has started to own him. His legs have gotten uncertain. His back has curved forward in the way backs do when they spend their days in a chair. He told me last spring that he feels old. I told him gently as I could that he does not feel old. He feels still. There is a version of aging that happens to you, and there is a version you move through. The difference between them, more than anything else, is whether you keep asking your body to do things or whether you let it stop being asked. I ask mine every hour, not for much, just enough. The fourth thing is harder to name. I have been trying to find the right word for it for years, and I am not sure I have it yet. The closest I can get is I stay inside my own life. What I mean is this. Somewhere in my late 70s, I noticed something happening to the people around me. They were spending more and more of their time, their thoughts, their conversations, their energy, living inside other people's troubles, the news, their children's problems, their grandchildren's problems, their neighbor's health, their friend's diagnosis, the state of the world at large. They were absorbing all of it, carrying all of it, losing sleep over things that were not in their hands, and they were aging faster than I was. I do not say that unkindly. I say it as an observation. I made a decision in my late 70s to be ruthless about where I put my attention. Not cold, I love my daughter, I love my grandchildren, I care about the world. But I stopped watching the news after 6 in the evening. I stopped having conversations that circled problems without moving toward anything. When worry arrived, and it always arrives, I gave it 15 minutes. Deliberate, honest 15 minutes of looking directly at the thing I was afraid of. And then I put it down. Not because the fear was not real, because carrying it past 15 minutes was not helping it and was very clearly hurting me. Donald used to say I was cold about things. He meant it as a criticism. I took it as information. I learned to be precise about my compassion instead of bottomless with it. Bottomless compassion for every hard thing in the world does not help the world. It only empties you. I kept myself full. I still do. The fifth thing I do every day is something I did not start until after Donald died. Every evening before I go to bed, I sit in this chair, this same chair, and I talk to him. Not because I believe he hears me. I honestly do not know what I believe about that, but because for 61 years I processed my days out loud with another person, and when that person was gone, the processing did not stop needing to happen. The days still needed to be accounted for. The small things still needed to be said to someone. So I say them to him. What happened today? What I noticed, what made me laugh, and things still make me laugh. Even now, even alone, which is something I did not expect and am deeply grateful for, what I am looking forward to tomorrow. I do not perform grief. I do not perform peace. I just sit here and talk for a few minutes the way I talked to him for 6 decades, and then I go to bed. I sleep well. I have slept well since I started doing this. I do not think that is a coincidence. A woman in my building younger than me, 76, she lost her husband 2 years ago, and she told me she cannot sleep, cannot settle, lies awake with everything unfinished in her head. I told her what I do. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she said very quietly, "I'm afraid if I talk to him, I won't be able to stop." I told her, that is exactly the right amount of afraid to be. Do it anyway. You will stop, and you will sleep, and in the morning there will be bread to toast and a chapter to finish and a phone call to look forward to, and that will be enough. It is always enough. I am not going to tell you these 5 things will get you to 93. I already told you nobody knows that. My doctor did not make it to 72. What I will tell you is that none of what I have described is about living longer. It is about living while you are living, staying awake inside your own days instead of drifting through them waiting for something to be over or something to begin. Donald is gone. My mother is gone. Most of the people I grew up with are gone. I have outlived people I loved and people I found difficult, and people I assumed would outlive me by decades. I am still here. I do not know why, but I know that every morning I find one reason before my feet touch the floor, and I drink a glass of water, and I keep moving, and I guard my attention like it is the most valuable thing I own, because it is. And every evening I sit in this chair and I tell Donald about the day, and then I do it again tomorrow.